The breakdown of our psyche, known as ego death, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. From the time we were a toddler, as we started to develop our emotions, you're leaving infancy, you're not just crying from discomfort anymore. Your reactions to your parents, your caregivers, the world around you now has this learned response of an emotion: fear, anger, disgust, surprise, guilt. All of these developed emotions become the framework of the ego. And so as you think of every situation that you've ever gone through, you learned how to add an emotion to it. Not just to be the observer of the action, but to feel and to think about the action. So there was no just observing. There wasn't just consciousness where you're just present with what was going on. There actually was a energy that got attached. Our memories are the biochemistry of the body at the time of the event, the way we think about the event, and the way we feel about the event. And so imagine that it gets stored away like a file on your computer. You make a folder. It's going to have the name of the event, right? You name it. And inside of that folder is the makeup of your physical body at the time. So whatever biochemistry, whatever neurotransmitters, whatever hormones, whatever was being secreted at that point in time it's like a timestamp. Every time you think about that memory, if you add emotions to it, that's a new file inside of that folder. Okay? So if it was a traumatic event, you have the first initial folder, and then each time you think about or experience a thought or a flashback of that event, you get a new file. Okay? And that file is going to consist of, again, whatever the memory is. So if you think back on that initial event and you get angry, you get sad, you feel disgusted, all over again, new file. Your body may even react again the same way as you felt during the first event. So you can imagine how over time, how many files we have and how full that folder is. And then like we did old school with our computers, you got to defrag. That's therapy. Therapy is basically defragging your hard drive. And when we can understand that this is the process of how an ego is built up over time, and I would almost say that the ego's file is fear, because it is maintaining all of those files, and it's got to protect the body, the person, the sense of self. It's got to have like defenses, and the defense for that is the fear response. So fight, flight, freeze, fawn. It has to have a way to protect from, especially the traumatic events. It has to stop those from happening again. And it wants to allow the pleasurable events to happen. So if we can kind of see that this is the development over time of our ego, then we can understand why it's hard to dismantle it. We can also understand why when it's time to break down the ego and defrag, that's why it's such a tedious process, and why it also requires the help of a life coach, a therapist, counseling, somehow, some way going and looking at those files and understanding the thoughts behind it. Maybe in some instances having to get help with the biochemistry of it. But overall, the files have to be looked at. The files have to be examined, and then deleted. If not deleted, reorganized, have a new file, and reframed. So the way that we approach and look at the event gets shifted into a new perspective that doesn't add thoughts, feelings, or biochemistry that keeps us locked in. I hope that makes sense. This is the process of what we were all going through, and we can do it of our own volition. We can make the choice to do it, or outside circumstances are going to happen to us that force us to have to do it. It's a little bit of both that are going to happen, but there's a way to move through it with dignity and acceptance of the process. It's the next step to our evolution as humans.